How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we have another episode of Previously in DBS. We're giving us the news in one go from the last, I think, few weeks in one good video, so you can just check out in one go. And today we have a nice little bit of news to go over. We got all the dashback information now. We've got all that revealed, and I think later on today we should have some information about the reveals for the next set, being set 20. But that won't be covered in this. That'll be covered in next week at start, because I want to get us out at least before the end of the day. And as well as that, we'll go over the ban list as well, because that came out as well, which is now legal today. And we'll go over that to see what was actually banned and what was it. So start with it. We'll go for the dashback cards, going in order of how they appear on the site. So starting off, we'll go red, and with this dashback, it supports 6 different decks. So each deck gets 3 cards, 1 Z card, and 2 other cards support its archetype. And for red, so it's one of each colour. So the red, one for red, one for blue, one for all colours, and there's one. The last one, because I said there's 6, and there's 5 colours in the game. The last one covers a deck that is not really tied to a colour. And for red, it is covering the Shipku deck, so the Son Goku, Pan, and Trunks Galactic Explorers deck that we got in set 17. And it's quite a nice one as well, because it revolves around Unison, and you get some nice support. So its Z card it gets is a Z leader, being SS4 Son Goku, Tier 4 Awakening. It's 15k Z lead with double strength built in, requires 2 Z energy to drop, and you also need 4 less life on that specific leader, being the one that's a red Son Goku GT, Pan, and Trunks GT. Now, it basically, when it goes in this, so 15k double strike is quite nice, and now it has 2 quite nice abilities. So the first one is an auto, where you choose up to 1 red Unison in your Unison area, and you place 1 Saiyan card from your hand underneath it. And when you do that, by paying that cost, you get when it attacks, you draw 2 cards, add a marker to the chosen card. So now it replaces I think the draw on the other side was just swing to attack when it awakens, and that goes back similar to how it was on the unawakened side, where you're now putting something on the Unison, drawing 2 cards, but now you're also adding a marker, so that's quite nice to keep the markers high, to kind of try and keep it out of black smoke range, because I think black smoke is a new card that kind of hinders the strategy, but it needs you to have a 2 specified cost or less Unison, which it does. That is the kind of Unison you play, but it also needs you to have 7 or less markers on it. And with this deck, you can put a ton of markers at very, very high. If you can keep it above 7, you can kind of protect it. And it also has an activate main to kind of give it some of that protection by sacrificing the Z lead. By using the activate main, where you move this card from the game, you choose one of your ready Unison cards with a specific cost of 1 in your Unison area, and you add a marker to it. It gains barrier until the end of your opponent's next turn. So by sacrificing your Z lead, which is quite a good Z lead, you then increase the markers on it and give it barrier to protect itself from potential black smoke dragon, because I don't think there's anything really in the game currently outside of, well, yeah, anything in the game actually that hits Unisons with barrier, because there are none, and this is the first time we'll be able to give a Unison barrier. And that was the Z lead, so a very nice Z lead for the archetype. It now has 2 other cards, 2 battle cards, both 3 cost cards, one being Son Goku, Pan, Trunks, Traditional Cosmos, the other one being Pan, Heartfelt Support. And Pan and Heartfelt Support is similar to the old promo we had back during, I think, set 3, like sets and sets ago, to support the GT archetype that came out then. But we'll get into that first. We get into the Traditional Cosmos one, so it's a 3 cost 15k with Deflect and Unique, so nice keyword skulls, and 1 big long auto. And activate main that is similar to the other ones, which is limit 1 for 1 red. If you have 2 or more energy, play a scarf from the Unison, so it goes with the strategy of putting stuff under Unison to keep it have like a second hand, like how we've had things like Android 716 and stuff like that, which have had like a second hand technically in its energy or in some area. Like you can have an extra hand in your energy drop or something like that. This has its extra hand under its Unison to play out a lot of stuff, so keeping the Unison high and playing stuff from underneath it, which is quite cool. And its also is a big long one, so it's when it attacks, it gains 5k power for the turn, and you choose 1 of 3 effects. You either choose one of your opponent's battle cards with 15k power or less, KO it. Pretty nice in theme with kind of how red does, but less minusing and more KOing at a certain cost. And the other one, the second one, is if this card's power is 25k or more, it gains double strength for the turn, so all you have to do is get a 5k boost, and then pump itself up to 20k at least, so an extra 5k boost before it attacks can trigger that. And the other one is, well, the last one is if you have 4 more energy, you may pay 2 red, and if you do pay that cost, well, yeah, pay that energy, then you get to play up to 1 SS Son Goku, Pan, and SS Trunks Galactic Explorers card from your hand on top of this card in active mode. Now, I might be thinking, what is the point of that? Because essentially, if you play this from the Unison by using the Activate Maiden and pay the 2. You pay the same cost as you would for paying Galactic Explorers from under Unison, and because they have the same energy restriction, being you need to be at 4 or more energy, and the same cost being free energy to do that. What's the point in doing that when you can just play the card itself from the Unison, have to put it under with its effect to give the Unison an extra marker? Well, the reason for that is because the fact it gives 5k power when it attacks, gives that card an extra 5k, and it can also get free force wings instead of free out of it, because essentially it'd be attacking, gaining 5k powers, which it passes on to the card that plays on top of it, and then it plays the card on active mode. Since you're swinging, you're resting your card to swing, you're then playing it on top of active mode, then that attack's still going through, then you can do another free attacks with the Galactic Explorers. So if you ever wondered what was the point of that, there you go. And the other one we got is Pan Heartfelt Support. This is a free cost 10k with 2 activate mains. First one is not once per turn, so you can activate as many as you want, or as many as you have access to. And it's if you have a Son Goku GT card in play, play this card from under Unison. So simple, no cost, just play it from underneath it, and no limit one like some of the other cards do. And his other active main is where it's like similar to, well, a little bit. It is quite similar to the old Pan. And this one is an activate main once per turn. If you have 3 or more energy and you switch this card to rest mode, you switch up. You add up to 2 cards from your life to your hand, so another way to take your life down to a specific amount. Either have your super combos live, go to be able to get your Z lead, anything like that. Nice little option. And you get to choose one Son Goku GT or a Trunks GT card in your battle area, and it gives 5k power for the turn. So this guy gives you a little bit more support to use the old set free secret rare, which can be used with this, which has got a nice way from the normal leader to be played out as well. And if you get to a certain amount, I think it's 6,000 power, whenever it swings, it allows you to deal damage to your opponent. So this is another way to get the power boost up, to kind of get to that point, to kind of use it as a win con for the deck, can actually be usable a bit more. So it's quite nice to be able to support the old secret rare. So I'll be looking forward to try and get these cards and trying out with the old secret rare. Really nice support, and that's the one thing you'll see from this dash pack, is that there's really nice support in it, and it actually does good support like we've seen. Like with Manarasu box, we have some cards that have really good support and actually supported the archetype, and some were support for a deck that didn't really do anything or weren't that great. But this dash pack, it hits spot on with all the decks. Now we move on to the blue one, and the blue one it supports is the Blue Bojack. So that's something that the current EU champion is excited about. Some really good cards, because he's a massive fanatic about that deck. And for that deck, it gets its Z card being a Z battle card being Zangia Beautiful Slayer. So this is a 2 cost 10k that requires 1 Z energy, and it has barriers as well, a bit of protection, no deflects, so it can be stopped from coming out, but it's not too bad since it comes down as early as turn 2. And it's got 2 autos. Very nice one in the first one, being limit 1. Where if your leader is a Bojack Brigade card and all your energy is blue, when this card is played, you place 1 blue Bojack Brigade card from your hand in your energy in rest mode. So it gives it a bit of ramp like some blue decks have. So it's almost like the Whis for the Blue Beerus deck. It's like the Whis for that, where it comes out, but instead of ramping straight from your drop of any blue card, you ramp from your hand with a blue Bojack Brigade. But it allows you to bypass your turn 3 essentially, because one of the things with a Blue Bojack trying to get to turn 4 so you can play Unison and use the alternate awakening out. It's not too difficult, but sometimes it can be a bit of a pain. And this allows you to skip actually from your turn 2 to turn 4 essentially by skipping a whole turn, which is really nice. And then it has barrier to protect itself 10k, so you can put some pressure on awaken lead. And it has another effect, being several to where you KO this card as the cost. When you play a blue Bojack card, that card gains barrier until the end of your opponent's next turn. And that's really nice because most of the I think all the Bojack cards in the deck are very strong. Probably the weakest one is probably the Agent Destruction one, but all the rest are very strong. Be able to give them barrier, to give that little bit of protection on them, especially a dual attacker or this next one, a double striker, or even the 8 drop, is very nice protection. And with having barrier on itself means it could be hard to interact with, to keep it there ready for when you do want to use it. And then we go on to the battle cards. We got 2. We got a Bojack Space Pirate Captain and Goku Cunning Slayer. They're both 4 cost 20ks with a 1 cost 5k combo, like most of the archetype does for Blue Bojack. And the only difference apart from that is that Bojack gets double strikes. Now all the Bojack cards are pretty nice. You got one that has this one has double strike. You have the one that has dual attack, and you have 8 drop 1, which is like a pseudo super combo, being a free 10k in the deck. That also comes down and can put in a pretty big boss quite cheaply in the deck. And they both have a similar first auto whereby paying 1 blue, and at the end of a battle where you use this card from your hand or energy in a combo, you can play this card from your drop. But the only difference being between those is that Bojack has the extra cost, with the blue being if you have 3 more energy. So Bojack has to have 3 more energy to do this, and Goku doesn't. But they both play out for 1 blue, essentially for 1 energy when you combo with them, which is quite nice. And it gives extra targets for Bojack, so more good Bojack cards to have in the deck, which is very nice. And they both, like some of them do, have an extra effect. So with Bojack, his one is a limit 1, where when your opponent attacks, you use 1 mono blue Bojack Brigade card from your energy in a combo, and if you do that, you add the top card of your deck to your energy. So similar to the leader's effect, but this is defensively what is in there, just to basically get a free combo extra, and then you still have your leader's ability to use whenever you want to, which is very nice. So very nice extra ability, not needed but appreciated. And with Goku, his effect, his second one is also limit 1. When this card is played, you may place 1 blue Bojack Brigade card from your hand in your energy in rest mode. And if you do that, you place 1 of your energy in your drop, and then your opponent places 1 card from your hand at the bottom of the deck. So a little bit of hand control, but it's not amazing. It's decent, but it's not amazing considering that Bojack, it doesn't have many ways outside of this to kind of control the hand. So, and sometimes if you're held off, you can get quite a big hand in Bojack, quite a good hand, but it's not the greatest kind of hand control. Like, it's best left to like green, where it has a lot more effects, or even red has a little bit of it to control hands a little bit easier. But still, it's never a Bojack name, and much appreciated a little bit of support for it. So that's going to be quite nice. And then we move on to green, and the deck green sports is not King Cold, it's not hand control Frieza, it's the green Cooler. So green Cooler getting a bit of extra support, which is quite nice. And we already know it's a very strong deck, considering it took 2nd place at the Australian Nationals, finals. And it gets a nice little bit of support with its Z battle card, its Z card being a Z battle card in Golden Frieza, returning of the Destroyer. And this one it's got similar stats to the other Frieza Z battle card we've got for green. It's a 2 cost, same as the other one. It's got 5k more power, being a 20k. It's got deflecting double strike, just like the other one does. But its Z card cost is 4 instead of 1. So it's a lot more costly in Z card cost, but it's 5k power, and that's the main stat difference. But it also does have a permanent where for each green unison in your drop, you reduce the Z energy cost of this card in your Z deck by 1. And that goes up to 2. So you can reduce it down to 2 costs, so it's still 1 Z cost, Z energy cost more than the other one in Unison Cooler. But it does have some really nice effects, because its auto is once per turn. If it's your turn, when your green unison is placed in your drop, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignore barrier, KO it, and this card gains 5k power for the turn. Now that is very, very powerful, because it just means that any point, you have immediate access at any point to barrier removal in the green Cooler deck, and all it requires is 2 energy, which is not that costly considering it can play the unison for free. By placing a unison in your drop, which has to be from the unison area, because if it doesn't specify, it's from board. So the deck is all about replacing unisons. I can do that for free by the lead. Just placing unison, replacing unison, sending one from drop from unison area to your drop, then play out a new one. Will trigger this, giving you barrier removal and making it a 25k double striker. And that's not all, because it also does have an activate main, which is once per turn. By paying 2 green, if your leader is a green Frieza clan card and you have 4 more energy as the cost, you get to play 1 green unison with a specified cost of 3 or less from your hand with a marker on it. And the target you normally get to bring out with that is the Golden Frieza unison that came out with the Cooler deck, because then even if you play it out with 1 marker on it from this, it still has Empower 4, so it can carry over 4 markers from the previous unison had out, to then give it enough, at least 5 markers to have access to its -4 effect to make it a dual triple striker at 30k power. So that's very, very nice. So a really nice option for a green Cooler and really nice support. Then it also gets a new unison as well. So it gets a new unison in Cooler Cruel Commander. This is a 1 specified cost 5k unison, like most of them in the deck, and it has Empower green 3, so it means you can pass on 3 markers from the unison it replaces, and that's just 1 up more than the others. I think the only other one that had green Empower green 3 was the Frieza one. That was a base 10k, so that's quite nice, carry on quite a few markers. And it's got a nice little auto like most of them do as well, which is limit 1. If this card has 3 or more markers on it, when this card is played, add 1 green card, any green card, just any green card, battle card, unison card, extra card, from your drop to your Z energy, and this card gains dual attack for the turn. So that's quite nice, getting a nice dual attacker and charging Z energy for free, and you always have a target because if you're replacing unison and getting power free, you'll be replacing it and putting that in your Z energy anyway. And then it's got a nice +1, activate main, burst once, place in the top card of your deck and you drop. This card gets 10k power for the turn, so when you drop that, you can put up to potentially 4 or 5 markers, and it becomes a 15k dual attacker, which is very, very nice. So very nice support, and it gives you better options for the unisons as well in the deck to be more aggressive. And it then has something really nicely defensively in King Cold, leader of the freeze account, which is the normal battle card this deck decks. It's a 4 cost 20k with unique barrier blocker, so the deck now gets a barrier blocker, but the 4 cost isn't a worry because it's got permanent wear for each green unison in your drop. You reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1, and remember you still got to pay specified cost, so it can go down to as low as 1 cost. A 1 cost 20k barrier blocker is very, very nice. And not only that, it has 2 very strong effects. So the first one is once per turn. Also, if your leader is a freeze kind card at the end of your turn, or when this card activates its blocker skill, you switch this card to active mode, which means you can attack with it, end the turn, it restand, then can block potentially twice. Can block twice in your opponent's turn, which is very good. And when it does activate blocker, it's got a never auto, which isn't once per turn, which is when this card activates its blocker skill, you use 1 mono green card with 5k combo power from your drop in your combo with the skills negated for the battle. So this is a very, very nice card, because it allows you to combo, charge that Z energy to bring out your Golden Freezer easier, and just combo constantly to be a 25k blocker defensively. And where it can block twice because it restands after it uses blocker, means pair this with Dormant Potential Unleashed, means you can basically just just ignore a turn by just going dormant on the first attack, blocking with this, comboing with a card from the drop, which you hopefully you put there at least if you didn't have it before, from dormant, block that attack, survive it, next attack, block it again, be the combo again with the card if you didn't put in your Z energy, and then that's it, that's the 2 cards, both blocked, your turn again. Very, 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 very nice card. Looking forward to adding this card to my green unit cooler deck. And then for yellow, the support for yellow is for the yellow Trunks deck. So Bandai really loving this yellow Trunks deck. It gets just really hyped for it. They love it. They love yellow in general, and also they really like this deck. It is the choice for the alt art lead for the finals. And for this deck, it gets a Z lead as the Z card. So it's a 15k critical Z lead that requires 2 Z energy, and its awaken is 1 yellow when you last 4 or less on top of a yellow Trunks, yellow Vegeta Trunks future card. So one thing it does lose from going to Z lead is the effect where if you activate EX Evolve, you draw a card, so it loses that little bit of extra draw power. But it kind of like promotes going into like playing the big boss card for the deck with that main, which we'll get to in a sec. But it's also once per turn. When this card attacks, it gets 5k power for the turn, make it a 20k swing, and you choose 1 or 2 effects. It's the same as the other one of the previous lead, which is you either draw 1 or play a yellow Vegeta, Trunks Future, or Bulma Future card with entry cost of 1 from your hand or drop in rest mode. So same as it did before, just now it's a 20k base, and it also gains 5k power when it swings. So a little bit of upgrade there. So you're normally going to be, once you've used the leader's effect to give it double strike, 10k, you're then going to Z awaken to have this side if you want to. If you don't want, if you're playing, well, at least playing the old big 8-drop boss monster. And speaking of boss monster, it's got an activated main, which increases the, as I said, increase the ability to play it and gives it more incentive to play it, which is once per turn, pay 1 yellow and choose 1 SSB Vegeta and SS Trunks Father Son Bonds, which is the big boss card in your battle area. And so you've got to have that in your battle area to choose as a cost. Then you draw 1 card and switch it and this card to active mode, so you can swing with both your lead and your big boss card. Then use the effect to pay 1 yellow, switch, choose the card, draw a card, switch both the boss monster and your leader to active mode, and then go again. So it's a nice little bit of pressure with that, which is very, very nice. And then the other cards to support it is a 1-drop Son Goku and Vegeta Alliance of Rivals, and an SB Vegito Fight for the Future. So the 1-drop Goku and Vegeta is just a cantrip barrier, like most of the 1-drops do have in the deck, and it's just, if your leader is the Trunks Future yellow card, you draw a card. So it's a nice little cantrip, and it's got a nice little activate main. With limit 1, if your leader is both a yellow Vegeta and Trunks Future card, and you discard this card from your hand as the cost. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards or units with energy cost 2 or less, and switch to the rest mode. So a nice bit of way to rest things, tap things down, so you could attack into them if you want to, or just get them out of the way like blockers and stuff like that. And it's considered a Vegeta, it can be played off your lead as well, which is quite nice. And evolve on top of that, you've got the SSP Vegeta. So that is a 5 cost, 25k double striker with an EX Evolve skill, which is limit 1 for 1 yellow. If you have 3 or more energy and you draw 1 card, that's the cost. It goes on top of a yellow Son Goku Vegeta card when entry costs a 1, so currently this promo next to it is the only target. And like with most of the ever cards that evolve, it's got an auto where it's played with using EX Evolve. Using EX Evolve. You switch to active mode so you can swing with it that turn. So if you play it off the one drop of the lead, you then get to play evolve this into this, and then switch to active mode so you can attack with it. And when it does attack, it's got an auto where when this card attacks, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards or user cards, and it can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's next charge phase. So being able to keep things locked down with this is quite nice, and being a 25k double strike for 1 is pretty tasty. Then we go on to black, and the black support, I thought it was for the SSG Trunks, but it's not, it's for the Supreme Kai of Time. So Bandai give it a nice bit of support for Supreme Kai of Time, and that is in these 3 cards, a few cards we've had in the last few TPs that support the black Supreme Kai deck, and also a ban that helps support it as well to make it a little bit nicer to play, which we'll get to in a bit. But with this card, for Supreme Kai of Time, it gets a nice Z battle card for its Z card, and that is Pan Search for Another World. So it's a 1 cost 15k, that requires 2 Z energy, and its auto is limit 1 if your leader is a black Supreme Kai of Time. When this card is placed from your life in your drop area from one of your leader skills, you add the top card of your deck to your life. So Supreme cards as an effect which you can crit a life to keep on board any cards you overwhelmed with, and critting a life isn't great, so it's a nice effect to be able to replace that life if you do that, to keep it around. And an activate main, which is limit 1 bond free, as long as you've got 3 cards with Zeno in its character name, so it's self and 2 everyone's. You choose one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to him when it's warm, so nice bit of removal. There's a shape it doesn't have barrier to keep it around, like it wouldn't be that busted if it had barrier to protect itself, but it would be like a nice little boost for it. But alas, it doesn't have barriers, so after you've dropped it, it has a less likely chance of surviving against most decks. Then the other 2 battle cards we've got for the support for it are 2 6-drops, being Son Goten and Trunks challenging your Dark Empire. They're both Overwhelm 6, with only Goten being locked just to the leader, whereas Trunks is not locked to the leader. The only thing that's locked to the leader for Trunks is its auto. And these are mainly locked to the Supreme Kai of Time leader, but the Trunks is more generic to be used against anything because they're dual attacking 19k. And Goten has a permanent where when this card would be removed from the battle area, it's moved to the game instead. So once it's played and then gone, it's gone. But it does have an auto when it's played from your hand, you draw 1. So if you overwhelm it from your hand, or just play it from your hand, you get to replace itself in your hand. And it's got activate main limit 1, so if you want to play it out without using overwhelm, you can play it by this effect by paying 1 black, and if your leader is a Supreme Kai of Time, a black one, you have 2 or more energy, and you have a Trunk Zeno in play. You get to play this card your hand or warp. So it's quite nice being able to have an option to play it from your hand or warp. So if you've warped it at any point in the game, you can play it from there, or just play it from your hand with your overwhelm, or from this effect. And then for Trunks, and then the other skills both these have is Goten has double strike and Trunks has dual attack. And along with that dual attack, Trunks has an effect where if your leader is a black Supreme Kai of Time, when it attacks, you use 1 card with 5k combo power from your warp in a combo with its skills needed for the turn. So essentially making it 24k, two 24k swings in Supreme Kai of Time. But this is a very nice card, more generically, because it's a overwhelm dual attacker. We haven't seen that since really since Fighting Against Fates was banned, and why it's not as strong as Fighting Against Fates, because it's Fighting Against Fates was 25k, which is very, very strong. It's a dual attack 29k, which is not amazing, but it's still a very good overwhelm for any aggro deck that wants to put more pressure and more swings in. So that's really nice. It's really nice to support Supreme Kai of Time, and we'll see in a bit what its ever little buff was from the ban list. And the last deck that isn't tied to a specific colour is support for AOD. So AOD getting 3 brand new cards, which are very, very nice. So first of all, we have the Z card that Majin Buu gets. Well, not just the AOD lead, but also every black deck, because it is Majin Buu Pure Destroyer. It's a 1 cost 5k that requires 1 Z energy black Z battle card. as blocker, and the first activate main out of its two is only relevant to the AoD lead, because if your leader's backside is a Majin Buu, leader of the Age of Destruction, its front side is facing up, you have 6 or less life, and you have 2 or more energy as the cost. You flip one of your leaders to its backside, draw 2 cards, remove this card from the game. So it's a nice way to awaken a higher life total in AoD, which is not too bad because it doesn't really play a super combo that is that cares about your life total or draws or anything. It's got a one that doesn't really care. So life total is not too bad. The main thing you're trying to do is get to 4 awaken as quick as possible so you can get a nice bit of a pressure with it. Because AoD is a very nice versatile deck with many options for most meta games, and its Everyone is the reason why it's good for just AoD in general, and also any black deck, because activate main limit 1. If your leader is black, you have 3 or more energy, and you place 1 of your Z energy in your drop. You choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and place it under this card. This card then gains 20k power until the end of your opponent's next turn. Well, until the end of your opponent's turn. So that's really nice, being able to just come out at 3 or more energy and just absorb any battle card as long as it doesn't have a barrier or indestructible. Put it under the card and become a 25k until the end of your opponent's next turn. It is very nice, just because you just get for 1 energy a 25k attacker, removal, and or even a blocker if you need be as well. And it's not just for your turn, the power, it's for your opponent's turn, meaning it can survive a little bit easier. And then the other 2 cards we got is 2 different agents. So we got 2 cost 15k Janemba, Bewitching Agent Destruction, and for the first time we get an Omega Agent Destruction. So Omega, the strongest Agent Destruction, being an 8 cost 30k, and for the looks of it, it looks like it was just copy and pasted from the yellow, the yellow promo for Shinsenron, the yellow Shinsenron, which is copy and pasted into AoD for this, which we'll get into a sec. But we've got Janemba, Bewitching Agent Destruction. This one's an odd one, people have been debating this. It looks to be a very nice target for, a nice little extra target for the Garlic Negate, because Garlic gets to play out a 2 cost from the deck. And it's a really nice one that you get to play out from it, so a nice little option for that. And it is confusing for people because it's got a permanent where this card's original skills can't be negated in any area. So you can bring out, and it isn't negated from Garlic. And then you got the permanent where this card can't be added to a player's hands. People will get confused on that, but remember, when a skill doesn't specify which area it's from, it's referring to the on board. So it just means it can't be added to hand from board. So if you draw it or such an offer leader from your deck, that can still happen. And it's got an also burst 1. When this card is played from your hand, draw 1 card, so it's a cantrip. When it's played out from your hand, you get to replace itself. And it's got activate main limit 1, which people are confused about what the relevancy is, because it's activate main limit 1. If you have 3 or more energy and you add 1 Agent Destruction card other than this card to your hand as the cost, at the end of your turn, switch this card to active mode. Now the benefit from this is you get to recycle any card you've played. So if you negated previously with a Garlic, you can then swing with it, then bounce it back to your hand to use it again next turn, and then restand the Janemba to then combo it off with in your next turn. So you can swing with the Janemba, swing with the Garlic, use its effect to bounce back the Garlic, and end the turn restand this. So you can combo with this and use the Garlic again, which is very nice. Or even things like Android 18 or the Janemba. The Janemba free drop that has offering as well as a blocker, so it's a very nice options. You can just bounce back to reuse and then get this back as combo power. Is very nice. And then we have the Omega. So Omega has deflect, so it's a nice card to chuck into Yellow Sin as well, because it has deflect. So it means when you bring it off the 8 drop, if they would stop you from doing anything from bringing it out, this can still come out. It's got a little bit of protection. And a permanent where if your opponent has 3 or more energy, this card gains triple strike. A nice little, they've learned from the previously when they've given things triple strike that can come out earlier, that it's nice to have these little permanents where there's be a restriction to when they can get some certain skills, like how they edit Errata the Celzeno secret rare to make it so your opponent had to have 5 or more energy. And it's got an auto. When it's played, you choose 1 or 2 effects. You have a draw card similar to the TP Omega from Yellow Sin, or you get to choose 1 of your opponent's battle cards, ignore barrier, and KO it. So either draw card or barrier removal for 1 energy in AoD, which is busted. And it's 1 energy because its activate main is limit 1 for 1 energy. If your leader has Agent Destruction in its card name and a total number of cards with Agent Destruction in their names in your leader area, energy area, Z energy area, battle area, and drop, is 7 or more, which is very easy to do in AOD. Play this card from your hand. So you get to play this out for 1, either draw a card, pop something, and have a 30k deflect card, 30k drop down with deflect, and potentially have triple strike when your opponent has 3 or more energy. Absolutely busted card, very nice one, and a very nice, some really nice support for this deck. Like Shinemba being niche support, that's quite nice. Omega being amazing, and Boo being a very nice one, not just to this deck, but to black decks in general. And that is all the Dash Pack cards, but that is not all, because we still have the ban list announcement, which is live today from the 1st of January. And these are the banned cards. So there are 3 banned cards and 1 errata. We get to errata at the end after you go through the banned cards, but essentially these 3 cards on the screen were banned. So God Seeding Technique Trunks is now banned, so blue no longer has his counterplay. Every other colour has their counterplay. Well, rest in peace, black not having a free counterplay for unisons. But blue now has their banned, and the only other one that's been really hit is red. So I've seen many people speculating that maybe the other ones be hit, but these were the 2 that made the most impact, and we'll get into the reasons why. But also they did hit the top 2, well technically red decks, it just happen to be red, the 2 most busted decks in the format at the moment, which is SS4 Gogeta by hitting their SS4 Son Goku Digging Deep, so the bean effect, they've hit that in the deck. And they've hit Sin by removing its critical pressure in the form of Haze, Shenron, Garen, and Evil being banned. So let's have a look at what the reasons were for removing them. So for God Seeding Technique, the reason behind this one is this card has continued an oppressive gameplay pattern against high cost battle cards without deflect. Doesn't matter much anymore, since most of the battle cards have been playing, printing for the past few sets have had deflect, so this hasn't had any relevancy to those at the moment. And its energy cost of 0 can easily stop major actions. That's fair. It can be played for free as long as you've got enough markers, and with some strong unisons in blue, get a lot of markers, it was live most of the time. In order to limit this card's effect on future card design, we've decided to ban this card, so maybe now without this in the format, they can potentially play big boss cards that don't have deflect printed on them, make it a little bit fairer, because having a boss card with deflect that you can't really interact with is not nice. So that's their reason behind that. That's fair enough. And then their reasoning for banning S4 Goku Digging Deep is this, and also this, I think the wording for this is exactly the same for Haze Shenron as well. So the reason for behind this is the strength and utility of this card has caused an overabundance of Son Goku and Vegeta decks to be in competitive play. It's not just this, it's a lot of the deck that is a big reason. But in order to increase diversity in deck building, they've decided to ban this card so the deck doesn't have as strong a defense now. You used to be able to just shut this down and make itself a 20k lead to defend easier, along with having other things and good red support. So now the deck no longer has that bean effect, so it can no longer really go above 20k defensively now, but he still dropped the secret rare that gives it 25k boost defensively while having some big pressure in that turn. So it doesn't hit too much, but it just means its defense is a little bit less now, which is nice. But it still has a ton of draw power and a big boss card that outside of blue is very difficult to stop or interact with. Yeah. And then with Haze Shenron, their reason, as I said, is exactly the same. The strength and utility of this card has caused an overabundance of 1-star ball decks in competitive play, and in order to increase diversity in deck building, we decided to ban this card. So this is the one that people hate the most out of this deck, because of the fact that you can just shut down any battle card, any of the 4-drop Sin or 8-drop Mega Swings can be shut down with critical as well, and having that as early as turn 2 with the 4-drop was not nice, or even turn 3. Your opponent's turn 3 with the Omega was not nice to have that coming down with critical, so you had to pack in a few negates out, deal with that. But now they don't have that, you don't have to worry about crit pressure, which makes it a little bit easier for some decks that they want to get like a load of life critted early, but still it doesn't take away from the deck's overall aggression. So that's quite nice. And those are 3 banned cards, and we'll go to the errata, and the errata was to Crimson Warrior. So because of its once set 19 was live for any of the regionals that could run could actually legally use a new set, in all the top cuts there was a huge amount of Crimson Warrior. So I think most of the decks in any top cut for a finals that had set 19 live had a load of Crimson Warrior, and it took the two, well, I think it took all of them that had it live. So once set 19 was live, Crimson took any finals that had it, and because of that, they decided to errata it in for this year. And the reasoning is this Leader's Awakening Edition has major advantages over decks after obtaining power blue Saiyan cards from set 19 and the expansion 21, with powerful Saiyan cards expected in upcoming sets, because it's Dragon Ball. Saiyans are like the main special trait in this game. This card impedes on future card design, and in order to increase diversity in deck building and limit this card's effect on future card design, they decided to issue an errata for the card as follows. So they're only hitting their the Awakening Condition. So the Awakening Condition used to be if your life's at 2 or less, or you place 5 Saiyan cards from under this card from your drop area, you draw 3, untap 1, flip it over. And now it's when your life's at 4 or less, and you place 5 Saiyan cards from under it from your drop, you get to draw 3 and tap 1, flip it over. So now instead of being at 2 life or placing 5 Saiyans, you have to be at 4. You have to be at 4 less life and place 5 Saiyans. So you now have a life limit to awaken, and also have to place 5 Saiyans. So you can't just go down to 4 less. You have to place 5 Saiyans as well, which makes more sense than when it's printed, because it's kind of, yeah, it doesn't really do much to it. Doesn't hurt it much. Like, you can kind of like hold off and helping it awakening by not attacking or stopping it from being attacked with leader, because it's got the effect to do that. But it still doesn't do much to it. It still is a very strong leader and still similar to it, just kind of waking a high life now. But still, that is everything for this whole week, and I think soon we'll be getting the set 20 reveals, which we'll look forward to, and we'll be getting an update every week in this form. So once again, if you like this series, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.